This is our annual meeting, and the first thing I would like to do is have a roll call. Do we have this? Mitch, you have the list in front of you, right?
I can have the list in front of me momentarily.
Well, I can do it from, let's see. How can I do it?
Linda, we could probably just take the roll from the Zoom call.
I have a list in front of me.
Okay. Whomever said that, would you like to start reading it and just?
Okay. Ann Adams. Okay.
I see Ann's screen, but I also see that she is on mute.
Okay. Kelly Brooks.
Present.
Okay. Mark.
That's gotta be me. That's me.
Okay. Mike Erickson.
No.
Okay. Margot Ernst.
Yep.
Present.
She's there.
Okay. Rod Giltz.
I wonder if he is the other person on the phone. I've just clicked on Ask to Unmute.
Andy Gustafson.
Present and accounted for.
Okay. He's one of the phones, I think. Yep.
Right.
Hannah Hanford.
Yep.
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Okay. James Howard. I'm here. Alan McLeod.
McLeod, and I don't see him here yet.
McLeod. Okay. Yep. Stephen Meyer. Kathy I better not pronounce that.
She told me she was unable to. Yeah, she's unable to make it.
Okay. Susanna Pillar.
No.
Christopher Robinson.
He is not here. Today is the first day of classes at Clarkson, and so he is in class.
And Julia.
She's here.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay. I think that's everyone ahead on my list.
Yep.
I think that's correct, and I'm just not sure. I'm not sure who our muted phone person is. I think it might be Rod.
Okay.
We should also add the station staff that's present.
Yes.
And
I saw Jessica, I saw Bonnie, and I saw Mitch.
I see
And
Jessica, Bonnie, me, Lizette, Ethan Shanty, Shelley Pike, Bob Sauter.
The famous Bill Hanel.
The famous Bill Hanel is with us. And we also have two ex officio members with us, Paul Redfern and Marion Roach Smith.
Great.
And I believe somebody else has joined us, so this is, I guess Andy has rejoined us.
Yeah, new appliance, and I'm on board now.
Okay. Thank you all for being here, and we'll try to have. I'm sorry. Was someone saying something?
I think Andy was hanging up his phone and joining us on the iPad, so we were hearing. He was hearing us in two places.
Okay.
That's it.
It's hard when there are this many people in a meeting, and I apologize for my inadequacies, but it's just the way it is. Thank you all for your attendance, as I've said, I think before, and we have a long agenda, so I don't want to spend a lot of time now, and perhaps I'll be allowed a couple of minutes toward the end to say goodbye. But this has been a particularly trying time, obviously, for all the staff, as it has been for many of us individually, and I am sympathetic both to the staff and enormously appreciative of what they've been able to do over the last 6 months. So Here, here. Mitch will start off the meeting with his report, and there's no need to come back to me, Mitch, when you're finished. If you want to just hand it on to the next person, we'll save ourselves a little bit of back and forth. So,
Okay.
Mitch.
Linda, we were chatting actually before the meeting began. Do we want to approve minutes and
Yes.
do board elections before we move on?
Well, we certainly want to do the minutes first. I thought we were going to do the board elections later, but it doesn't
Okay.
matter. If we do the board elections, we have to go into executive session. So
No, oh, I'm sorry. I meant the
officers.
the officer elections.
Yeah, why don't we do that towards the end of the regular meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But we do need to approve the minutes from the last time. First of all, thank you, Julia, so much for your really superb efforts on that front for the whole year. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So move. So move. Margot.
And a second?
Second by Hannah.
Any discussion? Corrections? Anything of that sort? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The minutes are taken care of. And now I think we can go on to Mitch.
Okay. So I am going to kick off the presentations I'll start with mine and then move on to the various other managers. And I should probably start with the beginning of this and click present. Are folks able to see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
So again, thanks so much to everybody for being with us today. And I have just some basic remarks to kind of get us started. If nothing else, the three things that we should get from the last year is that we're through part of the period of transition, but not all the way. And I'm going to back up actually because I was supposed to be able to click on these and then they were going to pop up. But our period of staff transition is continuing. It really got underway more than a year ago, a year and a half ago or more, with the retirement of Jackie Sauter, and then the retirement of Ellen Rocco, and then the retirement of Martha Foley. And we've seen new staff come on, and we've seen some of the existing staff take on important new roles. Over the past year, of course, COVID-19 has had a profound effect on the public radio world and on many things that we do in particular. I direct your attention to the annual report you should have in your email inbox. You'll hear a lot about these things over the course of the next few minutes. But I also want to make the point that despite everything, we have continued to thrive. We have won awards. We have met our mission of public service to our region. We have connected people and maintained our position as part of the fabric of the North Country community. And moreover, we have done it while keeping the staff safe and maintaining, everything that we've typically done. I think unless you were listening extremely closely, you probably wouldn't know that so many people from our staff are doing their work from outside the station itself. So as a little bit of evidence of this, I wanted to share just how a station connects with its listeners during a fundraiser during a pandemic. And hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
So everybody say hi.
Hey, stop! This is Radio Bob here. I just wanted to remind you all that we're having a fundraiser here at North Country Public Radio. We need to hear from those of you who can support us to do so now. Just contact us at ncpr.org/give. And I want to say in advance, thank you very, very much. Okay, go again.
Thank you.
There's the reality, and conducted in that very same Zoom format that we're on today, with me at the very same seat that I'm in today. Radio Bob is in a different undisclosed location than he was when he recorded that, however. So we've had a number of people that have left since the last time we gathered at an annual meeting. They include Martha Foley, who was in her last days as news director when we last met in annual form. Lauren Rosenthal, who did a terrific job as a reporter for us and moved to Minnesota with her partner. Fernando Naro, who also did a terrific job for us and is now in school, or about to be in school in Missouri. Claire Mendes, who was the outreach person for our North Country at Work project. Danny LaCourse, who decided to leave at the end of her medical leave. Guy Berard, who called it a career after 20-some years of hosting Jazz at the 10 spot, which is still being aired in reruns, but after years of doing it originally live in the evenings. I remember my days back here in the 90s when I sat in on a couple of those shows that he and Radio Bob produced. We have many archives to keep pulling from, and I know people continue to enjoy listening to him. Our beloved Brian Mann moved on to a terrific job as the first addiction correspondent for NPR. And soon, Dale Hobson, our digital managing editor, the author of the Listening Post for so many years, and the person who was largely in charge of staying in touch with all of our listeners digitally, is retiring at the end of this month. We brought on new staff since our annual meeting as well. Monica Sandretsky comes to us and has done a terrific job as a reporter and now the co-host of the 8 o'clock hour. Likewise, Julia Ritchie got here not long before the pandemic and the quarantine, and has jumped right in with both feet and is a trusted source for news across the North Country. Bonnie North joined us the day before we went into lockdown. Her first day was the day before everybody at the station scattered to the wind, and she has already proven to be an indispensable part of the leadership team at NCPR. Michael Greenwood actually left once and has come back as the outreach person for North Country at Work, so we're happy to have him back. And then we've had two people fill in place of Brian Mann until we can hire a full-time permanent reporter in that position. Tasha Haverty joined us for about 2.5 months, I think it was, and did some terrific work. And Emma Jacobs is currently doing the same for us. And we're hopeful that in the year to come, we'll be able to hire some replacements, both for Brian Mann and for Dale as well. Currently, St. Lawrence University is in a hiring freeze mode, and we certainly understand what the situation we're up against is, but we're hopeful that we'll be back to full staff as quickly as we can. So with that, I'll be jumping back in. David Summerstein passed along his news information to me. He is on some well-deserved time off, but I'm going to turn things over to Radio Bob to give us a brief accounting of our accounting. And this is my reminder to switch the screen share to his documents.
Yeah, he let me go first because I've got to get tested for COVID in 1:15, so I don't want to be late for that, right? So do you have that document?
Yes, I'm working on getting that document up, which I thought I was already. Oh, there we go. Hold on.
How much time do you think I should have for this? I mean, are you folks interested in this, or should I just breeze through it, saying that things look okay?
We've got a lot of people ready to give their reports, so
okay.
3-4 minutes.
I realize this is a lot of numbers, so I'll try to keep things concise.
And I will try to blow this up a little bit.
Yeah, blow it up. There you go. Starting from the top.
Thank you.
You can see what typical sources of revenue: New York State, CPB, St. Lawrence University, individual giving for FY 2019 and FY 2020. Then down underneath that, where it says expenses, there you go. You could see.
Wait.
Yes.
Okay, go. Okay.
You can see the expenses broken down into the two major categories, which are salaries and benefits and broadcast programs like National Public Radio International, and then everything else. And
continue scrolling.
Stop for a second. So
Okay.
you can see that why am I pointing? You can't see me pointing. You can see that in FY19 we were $234,000. Our revenue was less $235,000 than our expenses, and in 2020 it was $76,000 less. Now, fortunately, we initiated a special. I'm trying to read this. A future fund that we created a couple of years ago to help finance the station for several years in the wake of the retirement of the 4 or 5 members of NCPR's senior staff that left. And in FY 2019, we received a lot of money, $499,000 in FY 19. And we also received an additional about double that in pledges for the future over the next 10 years. So that's very good. Anyway, from that, if you have any questions, go ahead. I'll try to. I had some Coke for lunch, so I'll try to be quiet. Anyway, you could see that. So what we did was we transferred $234,000 out of the future fund to cover the revenue versus expenses situation. So far, so good.
Last year.
Meanwhile, in FY 2019, we also maintained a roughly $500,000 reserve fund. You can see it there, $501,972. This is enough to run the station for about 3 months, which is fairly typical for a nonprofit. This reserve fund has been accumulating over the last 10 years or so, and we're very glad to have it. So, bottom line, for 2019, we had $787,000, including the future fund and this reserve fund, going into FY 2020.
Okay.
So 2020, our income over expenses was, expenses over income was not as good. It was better, because we had a lot less, we had fewer personnel expenses. We didn't have a program director for a year. I went to part-time January 1st. Other expenses were down, not much traveling done in the spring, things like that. So we ended up with a much better position. Meanwhile, we also got another $154,000 in contributions to the future fund. So that left us with a future fund balance of $343,000 after we transferred the $76,000 out.
Okay.
Okay, now then plus, we also were the recipients of a one-time CPB pandemic relief grant for $112,000. This has remained unspent for FY 2020. This grant was designed to help stations survive during these very uncertain times, and when individual giving and program underwriting by businesses and nonprofits could be seriously affected by the current economic crisis. We don't know what the financial future holds, so we're holding on to this one for the time being. Anyway, so the future fund balance plus the reserve fund plus the CPB COVID relief grant plus the daylight reporting fund balance, which is $20,000, has left us with an available cash going to 2021 of almost $1 million, $977,611. So that was a lot of talking. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Rod Giltz, I thought the future fund was supposed to be a fund that you would be spending the earnings on rather than treating, of course, this is a cash flow statement. But is it not an endowment fund?
It is not an endowment fund.
And unless people, excuse me, it's Linda, unless people specifically requested that it go into the endowment, it was to be spent over the next few years in order to support the new management team as they got to know the community.
So yes, you're right. If someone requested that it be put into an endowment, we did put it into the endowment as a portion of that, but that's not included here. This is just the cash portion.
Correct. And we did receive $17,500 in fiscal year 19. That specifically went into endowment because the donors asked for it to go into that fund. The rest of it is to cover, station needs through expanded operating resources for special projects, technology, and a reserve fund. So there were a lot of ways that this money was to be utilized.
It was kind of, I think.
This is Margo.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it'd be nice to see our endowment that's at the Adirondack Foundation and some of our other balance sheet items.
Go up a little, go up a
in the
little.
future.
Go up a little. So there is the Adirondack Fund. This is the proceeds from the Adirondack endowment.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
proceeds, but I think what Margot is saying,
The
at some
balance.
point we'd like to see what is in that endowment fund at the total, not what we're earning from it. And also there is another $100,000 at the community foundation, approximately at the community foundation of Herkimer and Oneida counties.
Yes.
It might be helpful to have a balance sheet as part of the looking at the financial position.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll make sure to incorporate that moving
Sure.
forward.
Well, this is very good news.
And I think it's worth noting that taking a closer look at finances is one of the key agenda items at the next board meeting. We thought it made sense as we bring on new board members and a new executive team that we take a deeper look at the financial picture as opposed to like just being one brief part of it as it is at this meeting.
These are not the audited figures, by the way, for 2020. That hasn't happened yet. That happens in a couple of months. We'll distribute copies of our audited financial statement to anybody who wants them, and they're available on our website. So you can look anytime you want.
Yeah, I would also just add that I don't think that we've officially closed the books on FY20 yet from the finance office at St. Lawrence. So there is it's not official wrapped up with a bow. Sorry, this was Paul.
The fiscal year ends June 30th, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, it does correct.
Any other questions for Bob before he has to run off to COVID town?
Get tested.
This is Hannah. I just want to congratulate the staff and donors for coming out of this pandemic in a relatively strong, actually better position than a year ago. That's pretty amazing, and congratulations are in order.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hannah.
And I want to say before I go, thanks to St. Lawrence University for giving me a COVID-19 test. All staff are getting them, and that's where I'm going. So thank you, Paul, and see you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, so that actually that reference to donors is as good a time as any to pivot here to the next part of our presentation that I need to re-screen share. Hold on. And we'll go. And this is, we're going to hear now from Lizette, who can talk a little bit about how we did from a development standpoint.
And Mitch, if I could interrupt you for 1 second, I think Jeff Colleen, the other ex officio member from the SLU trustees, has joined as well.
Oh, hi, Jeff. Oh, yep. Good to see you.
Welcome. So what I'd like to say is you can see that the number at the bottom, of course, looks like it's a negative thing, but really it's not. We had a really great fundraising year. We actually increased revenue in every type of giving except for the future fund, which we knew was going to be a lesser year since we're only bringing in gifts from multi-year commitments to that fund. So that said, I am very, very happy with the results, and I think you guys will be as well. Annual giving went up, major giving went up, matching gifts, vehicle donations, all went up. Of course, the foundation has been wonderful to us. And we even brought in 2 annuities that added up to $30,000 this year as well. So all in all, we had very, very good year. Of course, COVID, we were having a stellar year prior to COVID, but despite COVID, we still had a wonderful spring campaign. We had to postpone it, of course, but when people heard the bell, they came in and we reached goals. So honestly, a lot of gratitude to our supporters, to everyone on the staff who's just worked so hard to make sure that we can continue to meet our goals. Did anybody have any questions on this chart here?
I'd like to say
annuity.
bravo, Lizette. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Lizette, the annuities number, that is the income, or that's the total?
That's the total that the donors started their annuities at, correct.
Okay.
Our annuities are managed through St. Lawrence University, so all the reporting and everything that happens, it goes from them. It's here as a line item just to let you know that this is something that happened, that these donors made this initial contribution. But of course, we know that number will change depending on how the charitable gift annuity pans out in the end. So.
Right.
Okay.
Quick question. What's the threshold for major gifts? I mean, what's that category?
Please explain what you mean by threshold as far as.
Well, you have annual giving and you have major gifts.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know what you mean. Okay. Yes. Annual giving is broken out, and I should have indicated that there. My apologies. The station considers a major gift anything above $5,000.
Okay. Thanks.
So that's the threshold.
All right. Other folks have questions for Lizette?
Congratulations.
Thank you, Linda. The station did a really great job. We really buckled down. You know, there were a lot of challenges to fundraising this year. Not only did we have the transition of staff, but we had some program changes. And then of course COVID. So things certainly were challenging. I won't lie, they were absolutely challenging, but we buckled down and did what we had to do. So, all right.
I would add quickly too. I think it's a testament, Mitch, to you and the staff to see the increases in all the areas that we see increases there during your first year. It's awesome.
Thanks.
I totally agree. Thank you so much.
Well, thank all of you so much for your continued support, in every way. So I think next,
the slide.
I think that was the only graph I had for you, Lizette.
That's the only graph you put in? Okay. There were several others. So you'll have to look
I included all of them in the annual report that I sent out.
Fantastic. The other charts that you'll see is the individual giving comparison since fiscal year 16, where you'll see in fiscal year 16, we brought in $863,000. Of course, we saw that fiscal year 19 was $1,496,000, and this year $1,259,000, which honestly I'm very pleased again with where we came in. So the other chart that you'll see is a breakdown by actual giving type and shows the percentage of where all those, oh, there we go. Go up a little. There you go. See that little pie chart up there? That lovely chart there tells us that 67% of our giving is coming in, specifically from annual gifts, 10% from major gifts, and right now 12% for future fund, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all I wanted to cover there. And if you go back.
I have a question. Mitch mentioned to me the other day that we've had a significant increase in the numbers of donors who are giving at the sustaining level, which
Yeah.
means that they are monthly donors essentially on an automatic basis. And that was really quite noticeable.
It is, and I was going to get to that in just a few more minutes. So no, that's great. No, thank you for transitioning into that. That's certainly an area that we want to focus more on this year. So I do definitely want to come back to that. So I just want to finish the charts here just to kind of give you a sense of where we've been. So this chart goes all the way back to 2003 and shows you the progression of giving over the last, a decade plus. So go ahead. So you see we are still increasing, which is great. We're at $837,000 this year, which far exceeds our fiscal year 19. And, we're thrilled. Major gifts, you can see where there was the dip in fiscal year 19, completely related to us putting together that future fund. The bulk of our major giving went into the future fund. So I do anticipate that this number will continue to go up once some of those multi-year commitments complete. So we should see a steadier increase in major gifts. That said, that is another area that we will be focusing on more greatly this year. Major gifts are, of course, important, and we certainly want to build stronger relationships with some of our current donors, but also do what's necessary to bring on new major donors. And so we are building a stronger major gifts program and taking a closer look at some mid-level givers who might have the capacity to become major donors. So work to be done there. I will get back to, if you want to just quickly look at those financial highlights, you'll see that, down below, Mitch, with the fundraisers, my apologies. The fundraisers.
Right there, sorry.
You'll see that last summer we actually exceeded our $50,000 goal by 24,000. In the fall, we actually stretched. We actually increased our goal by $25,000. It was originally $350,000. We stretched it to $375,000, and we reached it. So great. End of calendar year, we raised $135,000. Spring, we exceeded the $250,000 goal by $20,000. And the end of fiscal year, you'll see that we brought in $52,500 by the end of June. So all in all, a great year despite COVID. All right. So the things I wanted to cover was the sustainer, but you'll see here that the total number of donors, we actually increased this year from 4,739 to 4,916. We did get more new donors in. It's a little slightly down there. You'll see that the total of new donors we acquired was 625, so 183 more than we did last year, and obviously reflected in the total number of donors. Our retention has always been really good, at least in the last several years. We tend to be around 76%. And last year we were at 78%. And this year we even bumped slightly higher to 79%. Donor retention is, donors that come back in year after year. So that's really great for us. Our average giving amount, and I'm talking about just annual giving, not major gifts, annual giving, so any gifts under $5,000, the average gift amount we get is $130.86. So right in line with where we were last year, but slightly higher. And this is where I'll get into that sustainer giving you wanted to know about, Linda. Our revenue total, 20% of it now comes in from sustainers, and that has gradually increased. We were at like 17% last year, so it actually did increase more significantly this year. We actually increased by 23% for the total number of sustainers that we have now. So the annual retention for sustainers is even higher, which for us right now this year, it went from 87% to 91%. And why is this important? It's important because sustainer giving gives us a more stable revenue stream. So the more sustainers you bring on, the steadier that is. And as you can tell by their retention rate, they are much more apt to give and continue that giving. The other part of it is if you start a sustainer based on the research and speaking with stations that have like 70% retention, rates or 70% sustainers, excuse me. They say that if you can start a sustainer first, they are, again, it just really helps your stream of revenue moving forward because they are most likely to retain. So we do absolutely want to put some more emphasis on sustaining giving this year. We also, of course, want to make sure that we encourage current sustainers to increase their monthly gifts so that they don't just stay at the same amount. And of course, along with that, we always want to always be looking and asking people to just up their annual giving as well. So a lot of areas that we'll be focusing on with our fundraising efforts this year to convert existing supporters to sustainers as well. So these are opportunities for us. Did anybody have questions on any of that?
It's terrific.
Okay.
Great.
All right. I won't take up too much more of your time here because I know there's a lot of stuff. So just a couple more key highlights. We already talked about the new donors that came in. We've talked about the Future Fund. I explained what came in last year. 12% of these the multi-year gifts brought in 12% of this year's revenue. And below that, Mitch has a bunch of strategic and other operational highlights that we can get into or you can read on your own. The COVID impact, I think we're going to kind of get into some of that when we open up to questions and answers. And then really the other thing that I just will let you know is the other key thing we want to look at moving forward is, seeking creative opportunities for virtual events or digital only fundraising. Anything we can do to continue to strengthen our relationship with existing donors is very important to us. But it also gives us the opportunity, of course, to engage potential new supporters. So we will be focused on those efforts as well. So that's what I've got. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, your support, we always appreciate greatly. And if you have any questions for me, even past this, you have my email address. Feel free to ask or call. Okay? Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me reshare the presentation and apologize that it's taking a while for me to toggle back and forth here. I believe we're going to move on now to Jessica Lawrence, who's going to give us an update on underwriting efforts, including this kind of guerrilla marketing campaign that we did.
I love that that's the one you picked, Mitch. That's like my favorite one that I did the whole time. So hi, everyone. I would love to say that it was a really great year for underwriting, but then COVID-19 came to my life. So started out really strong. In January, it was a record month for any underwriting at NCPR. We took in $77,000. So we were well on our way to getting to that $500,000 that we were short from fiscal year 19. Then COVID-19 hit. So we've been very lucky. No one on the annual side has said they're not renewing, which is great for underwriting. The seasonal contracts, $88,500, that's something that we always sort of count on because those are people like Lake Placid Sinfonietta, all the event things that we all look forward to in the summertime that were not taking place this year. We did get over $21,000 in new contracts, so that's a really good thing for me. Is that all you had, Mitch? Is there another one? Okay, perfect. So we have had a lot of renewers. Nobody's canceled. Some people have gotten back to me and said, I'm just not able to continue at the level I'm at, which is fine. We've made over $30,000 so far. There have been 8 new underwriting clients. The Story of the Day podcast, David is not on, but he's so excited because we have someone sponsoring that every single day through the end of this year. Bonnie and Bill and I have had a lot of really good meetings, and we've been talking a lot about new opportunities. People are very interested in digital sponsorship. So one of them is the photo of the day, and we're working with someone right now who is very interested, natural selections, other NCPR podcasts. But that's one way that we can really boost because we've seen such a huge increase in our digital support and listenership, as I'm sure Bill will explain to you. I think, is that it? Oh, okay, that's it. That's all I had, which is great, quick and easy. So I will say also, though, Bob Keller, I know, is on the phone. He and I spent about an hour on the phone a couple weeks ago talking about some underwriting opportunities with another organization that he partners with. So I know people are out there, and I know people are trying. It's challenging. As Bob said, there's not as much travel. I'm not able to get in the car and go places as easily. But I did sort of think outside of the box and feature a lot of underwriting people who I could get to easily. Gabby and I would get in the car and drive. We went to Lake Placid one day, and to feature them. And one of them was a brand new underwriter who had just signed on before COVID hit. And he actually sold out of the trees that he produces and has a wait list that's at least 100 people deep for next year's season. So just by me posting on our social media really did a huge increase for his product.
Well, and that was the same campaign that was represented in that first picture that we showed as well.
Right, Jernabi, yeah. And I got my iced maple latte, so that was a plus.
Thanks, Jess. The news department is the next section of this, and as I said, David Sommerstein is enjoying some very deserved time off. So I'm going to go through the highlights, and it's a shame he's not here because I really want to speak to what an amazing job that he did over the past year. When the year started, at this time last year, he was both the program director and the news director until we were able to bring Bonnie on board, and Bonnie didn't start until March. So that was a pretty substantial part of the year in which he was doing two jobs. And at the same time, a pretty significant amount of the news staff was turning over. You saw the people who left, you saw the people that came on, and so the news department's ability to keep producing quality news throughout this entire period has just been a testament to his leadership and the really good people that we've been able to bring on from around the country who have come here based on the strength that we enjoy within the system. So with that said, some highlights of the past year. I mentioned the staffing changes. We kicked into emergency response mode right at the beginning of March with the creation of a live blog that covered developments on the coronavirus scene in the North Country. It was updated 7 days a week, multiple times a day for 3 full months. We were staffed up 24/7 for 3 months, basically meaning that there were people that were doing live newscasts during the weekend and people on call pretty much all the time for 3 months. As things started to settle down, we wanted to make sure that we paced our news department appropriately and that nobody burned out, so we scaled back a little. But one of the ways we were able to pivot to doing that is by putting all these listener surveys out into the field. So instead of trying to cover absolutely everything about everything, we asked our listeners partly what they wanted to know about, but also when we were interested in a particular area, what their questions were, what their experiences were, which at a time when it was difficult for our reporters to go out into the field was really vital in helping us find sources. We've done stories kind of leading the way in upstate New York on the issue of the coronavirus in state prisons. And most recently, we did an in-depth series that's still kind of ongoing on the challenges people face as the economy reopens with childcare, when people are being required to go to work, but maybe their kids aren't being required to attend school in person. If you haven't caught pieces of that series, I highly advise you. There's a link to it at the top of our website right now. At the same time, the Black Lives Matter and racial justice movements came along, and the North Country was not immune from them, if you will. We've done significant coverage of systemic racism and policing concerns in the North Country. We're in the midst of revitalizing the 8 o'clock hour. We're going to do some rebranding. We've added some new music to it and trying to freshen up the sound. Partly it was with making it a co-hosted model with Todd and Monica hosting on the 8 o'clock hour now. And the reporting that we've done over the past year has won awards. 2 from the Public Media Journalists Association. These are national awards. They're the highest awards that are given to public media journalists. Some terrific awards. The Edward R. Murrow Awards come from the Radio TV Digital News Directors Association, or Radio TV Digital News Association. All the acronyms change, and from the New York State Associated Press Association. So amazing work by the NCPR news team. It will continue. We're excited to look at the next generation of reporters continuing to make it into the news department. But with that, I will turn things over for a report on the NCPR digital side to Bill Hanel.
Howdy.
Oh, there he is.
Here I am. Sorry. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm pretty excited to give you this report this year. I'm excited every year, but this year I'm particularly excited because we served a lot of audience this year, and what's more, the entire team, as you've heard from pretty much every department at the station, everybody has worked really, really hard to serve that audience, and so that's kind of why we've landed where we are. Last year, when we did this annual meeting, I reported at that time that the last 2 quarters of the fiscal year, we saw a little bit of a traffic bump, and I was hopeful that that would continue, and it did. So the chart you're looking at right now, the blue bars represent the number of users we serve per month for the first the first 8 months of the fiscal year. The orange bars represent the number of users that we served per month last fiscal year. So you can see that, see, now this is just the first 8 months. Don't get too excited yet, Linda. So this is, you can see there was already quite an increase in the number of, thousands of people we serve per month in that first eight months. Now, the lines, the squiggly lines there, the blue and yellow lines, those represent the number of stories that we published. Okay, so when we publish a story, that means that a reporter has gone out and done their job, and the news department has come in and reviewed the story and done their job. Somebody's produced it, somebody's put it online, somebody's done the audio, somebody's gotten it on the air, somebody's made sure that all the services are, somebody's made sure it's all paid for. So every piece of, or every person in the station contributes to that, the number of stories published. So this is sort of my way of sharing with you guys, like, this is our output. This is what we're producing in the digital space as well as the broadcast space, frankly. So the blue line at the top, the squiggly one, that's the number of stories that we produced this year for those first 8 months, and the yellow one is the number of stories that we produced last year for the same 8-month period. And you see there was an increase not only in the amount of audience, which is the blue bars, but also in the number of stories that we produced, which is the blue line. So Mitch, next slide, please. This graph, the darker ones at the end, includes what happened since the COVID-19 crisis began.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, so not only did we increase the amount of audience we served, but we also dramatically increased our output. Now, mind you, you heard everybody talk about, the amount of work that went into this. At the beginning, Mitch talked about staffing changes, how many fewer people we have now, all the transition we've been through. So I feel like this really puts into perspective exactly how well NCPR has been performing, especially since the beginning of COVID. Last year, and frankly, every year that we've done this report, and I've given you all audience data for the digital space, I talk a lot about external factors that drive our traffic. Like, okay, did Facebook change their algorithm? Are people searching terms, of a certain type more or less? This is I think this is the first time we've really turned around and said, okay, what's like the primary internal factor that drives our traffic? And certainly it's easy to see here in these graphs that our station output is probably as important, if not more important than those external factors in terms of how much audience we can serve. And not, like, a better way to put it is, what community service are we providing? And so there it is in graphical format. Next slide, Mitch, please. So this is our station output and service. So users in yellow and story count in blue for the last 5 years. And so, I do a lot of data analysis, and I look at a lot of charts like this. And one of the things that stood out for me when I started looking at this one is that when we increase or decrease our output, not only do we see a slight dip or spike in the number of users we serve in the digital space, but as we continue a pattern of increase or decrease in output, the pattern of numbers of users we serve or don't serve, like, sort of flows with it and builds momentum in a particular direction. And so what this means is that when we're doing really well and we have the ability to do our good work and to really perform, we'll not only see the benefit of that additional output, like, when it's happening, but we'll see the benefit of the additional output for months to come. On the flip side, if anything affects our ability to continue to serve our audience, such as when we lose staff, or we maybe don't have money to pay for services or things like that, we'll see a dip in service as well, or a dip in our users as well. For perspective, and this number is not anywhere in this report, it's looking to me like our digital audience, as far as the website and our app goes, is now somewhere between 25, well, let's say 30 and 50,000 people who visit us once a week, approximately. And the number of people who visit us every day is much smaller than that, probably 5 to 10,000 people. But again, I'm just giving you this number for perspective, because I think, and that's people in the North Country, sorry, I think that it's important to understand that our digital audience is not just like something we do besides the radio anymore. It is our audience. Many of the people who use our digital services are also people who listen to the radio. I'm sure a number of people in this medium use both, or in this meeting use both. So there are a lot of people out there who are using our digital services, and it represents a huge portion of our audience. And certainly, I think these graphs help you understand exactly what the connection is between our ability to do our work and our ability to serve the community. I don't think Mitch has a slide for this, but a couple things I wanted to mention that are in my full report. We increased the number of people who listen to our music shows, like the Radio Bob Show and the Beat Authority on demand in digital, by 260% this past year. And we did that basically by improving the service. I made some changes and some updates to the way the music players work and the way we promote our Music Rewind feature, and it really paid off almost immediately. And that's a number that seems to be continuing to climb. That's a 210% increase in the number of people using it as well. So 260% increase in listen in the number of listeners. Our stream continues to increase its audience size, our live stream, sorry. And again, if you take a look at my full report, you'll see some similar charts where those numbers tick up. But the other thing that's interesting about it is our smart speaker usage continues to be more and more of a percentage of the number of people listening to our live stream. So that's sort of interesting as well. This coming year, because of some of the things that I've learned in doing this analysis and some of the numbers that I've watched here, really my focus for digital this coming year is trying to find a way with limited resources to continue not only to maintain our digital service, but to continue adding services and improving services. But that will be a challenge because we're losing Dale here pretty soon, and we have no idea, when we'll be able to replace him. So those are really the two big things on my mind right now. But I certainly, what happened over this past year looks really great, and I'm so proud of everybody at the station who contributed to it, and I'm so grateful to everybody here on this meeting and all of our supporters for helping us get it done. So thanks very much. Anybody have any questions?
Hey, Bill, it's Mark Twanzik. I have a couple, one or two dumb
Sure.
questions about, so users are, if I say 3 different times during the day, Alexa, play NCPR, is that a separate user? Or is that one user, or is that 3 users?
So, okay.
Sorry, she heard me.
I'm glad I had my earbuds on, or you would have started mine too.
Yeah.
Start them across.
So none of what you've seen here reflects smart speaker usage. In my report, you can see a percentage of smart speaker users, compared to total live stream users. But I'm not at a point where I can grab users from a smart speaker and incorporate it with the rest of our digital service. I'd love to be, but our analysis powers aren't quite that great yet.
And then when I do something from on demand in terms of my app and listen to it, it's like a podcast that you can get almost anywhere now. But so but does NCPR get any special credit, as in terms of a distribution channel to help of service?
I'm not sure.
Can we make any money? Can we make any money on that as a distributor for those, because it comes through your app?
As a distributor for our own programs, or a distributor?
No, for like
NPR programs.
Away with words. Can you collect money from there?
I think that's a really great idea. I think we should take that directly to NPR, because the answer is no. I love it. Let's do it.
I think NPR would like it. This is Margo. What about monetizing the work we do in the digital? It's complicated, again, because of NPR and all, but is there any way to monetize this great success you've had?
Yeah, so certainly that'll be another focus for this coming year. I mean, I work with Jess and Jessica, and I work with Lizette, and I work with pretty much anybody at the station who is focused on figuring out ways to make more revenue on our digital services. And it's certainly important to me right now to figure out better and more ways to do that. Right now, it's underwriting and fundraising, and it's like when we run a fundraiser, we put messages on the website and on all social media and our apps. Jessica is selling underwriting space on the website and kicking butt doing it. And
on the stream as well.
On the smart speaker. I mean, that went like boom.
And on our podcast now, so we're certainly looking always at ways to do more. It is challenging because our digital staff is soon to be 1. But I think there's a lot of potential to do more, and I'm all over it. It's definitely important.
We should mention, Bill, that.
I was going to say that
Oh, please go ahead, Mario.
Mitch.
Oh, I was just going to say we should note that.
NPR,
I'm willing to answer anybody's question.
Okay, I'll go first. I was just going to say that one of the challenges that we have not yet worked out in the public radio system is a reliable way to tell your smart speaker that you want to donate to your member station. And I know that's something that a lot of smart people have been puzzling out for a while, sort of developing a smart speaker skill that makes it easy for people to contribute, as they're listening to their smart speaker.
Yeah, and so that's a really good point, Mitch, because there are smart people out there developing ways to monetize smart speaker use and podcasts and all this stuff. Most of those things are relatively young, like within the last few years, sort of unrefined, although they're getting way, way better all the time. More importantly, they cost money in terms of either buying a service that can make it happen or developing software that can make it happen, one way or the other. So, we try to keep up, but, and I think we do pretty well, but we can certainly do more.
I'm just looking at how well you are doing, and if you had more money to spend, you could do even more. And you're doing such a great job that I'm just thinking that we somehow can dive a little deeper into it. And there are some great models out there in the network doing it. I mean, I don't know what PPR is doing, but I mean, everybody's doing this. So there must be some things we can maybe try.
Yeah, I agree, Margot. I agree.
I know we want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're at 1:38. We have one more presentation to get to. And Bill mentioned with the retirement of Dale, people will be doing some different things. And so the person who will shortly be taking over writing the daily emails that you get from NCPR is our Director of Audience Programs and Outreach, Bonnie North, who joined us, as I said, the day before the situation was officially declared a pandemic. Bonnie, do you want to take it from there?
Absolutely. And thank you all for being here, for being part of the NCPR family. It's been, I don't recommend moving across the country and starting a new job in the middle of a pandemic. Although when I spoke with Jen White of 1A, and you see that on your screen, she did exactly the same thing. She moved from Chicago to DC to start this. It has been an incredible learning curve for me. I apologize regularly to my colleagues saying, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is or where that is. But I feel like after 6 months, we're starting to get the hang of it. And when I say that, get the hang of working not together. It's one of the things that I think everyone in the station is finding the most difficult, is that we're used to popping into each other's offices. We're used to being able to have that sense of community within the staff, that a lot of the folks who report to me are saying, I just miss people. And so we're trying really hard to acknowledge that, but also acknowledge the incredible work that they've all done in order to make us sound like NCPR. I think most people listening to us would not know that we have one person in there at a time, and that's 2 people a day for a 13-hour shift. And that when we're fundraising, we're living rooms, and nobody gets to actually see each other. And so I just wanted to do a very quick shout out to all of, certainly the news and the behind the scenes folks, but our announcers, Shelley and Ethan and Doyle and Todd and Monica and, and everyone who's doing the music shows, Radio Bob, who is off getting his test. They've kept things going and sounding normal. And I think that has done such a service for our audience when things were so completely abnormal. So starting with that, going into the audience piece of things, the spring book, we get a spring and a fall book from Nielsen, and you've probably heard in the past, I'm sure Jackie talked about this, we don't get a lot of really helpful data from it because of what they measure. They only measure, and you can see in the second bullet point, Albany, Schenectady, Troy. They measure Burlington, they measure Syracuse, and they measure Watertown. Well, that's our fringe. What we consider our fringe. It's not that those people are fringe, it's just the majority of people who are listening to us are not being measured at all. And Canada isn't being measured at all. So Bill and I looked at the most recent spring book, and I didn't put he already did a beautiful chart. I didn't put a chart in here because it essentially mirrored what was happening in the digital sphere. I mean, we saw a real uptick in the digital, but we also saw terrestrial listening going up as well. It has leveled off a little, but it really has not dipped to the pre-pandemic levels, which is terrific. We're keeping our audience. And one of the things that I talked with the hiring team when I was coming for the job is that we have to figure out accurate measurement. It's one of those things that's on my list
we have to figure out how to do this, and we probably are going to have to develop our own measurement tool. But the pandemic happened, and so that is kind of sitting over on, yes, we'll get to that. It's important, but right now there are so many other immediate things that need to happen. And in the meantime, Bill and I are going to just scour through, the books that we get and try to extrapolate as best we can, comparing it to both digital and the terrestrial. So that's the audience piece of it right now. Go ahead, Mitch, to the second one. To the programming, there were a bunch of changes. We added 5 new programs. Sound Opinions started just before I came here, but the other ones, and so did First Person, which is Mitch's show. But 1A, which is now at 8 p.m. during the week, Sound Opinions, which is Wednesdays at 9 p.m., and then World Cafe, which we have conversations at 9 p.m. on Thursdays, and then taking the place of Live from Here on Saturdays from 6 to 8. Things that went away, the BBC NewsHour, much to our horror, they stopped producing it. This was not a choice we made. And they gave us, I think, Mitch, they gave us about 3 days notice that they were going to stop producing.
Yeah, they let us know on like a Thursday that it was going to be gone as of Monday.
Right. And that was right about when I first got here. And so that was even pre-pandemic. Live from Here stopped production. That was I believe, American Public Media. They laid off a ton of people, and they're having some fiscal issues along the pandemic. We took away the Fresh Air rerun at 8 o'clock so that we could make way for 1A. I think it's a much better use of that hour. Innovation Hub was the only show that completely went away out of the schedule as of July 1st, but it's probably going to come back because Only a Game is going to end production, and On Point is changing to 1 hour starting in October. So there are yet more programming shifts that are going to happen at the end of September, to be determined. We haven't decided. Opera is changed in that they're not planning any live performances at all until 2021. And even then, we don't know if that's the case. What they're doing is we'll start it with their season start in December, and they're making available, they have 75 years of archives, so they're producing those for us. And so that's changing, but we don't know what's going to happen with them. The other change for local shows, in addition to 8 o'clock hour, just sort of getting a revamp and a refresh, is North Country Bookmarks. Jess became the solo host of that, and it changed from a call-in show because we couldn't do it during the pandemic to a pre-recorded show where she's interviewing and also gathering information that way. And Ethan Shanty has become the executive producer of that. So the two of them work together with me as sort of the overseer of that. And I want to say too, that's not Jess's job, and she's done an incredible job of learning how to be an interviewer in the 6 months that I've been here and been trying to guide things. And so big props to her, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback for that as well. All right, outreach. Obviously, there's not much we can do except Zoom meetings like this. I'm going to have Jessica jump back in and talk about some of the things that happened in real life before I got here, because I wasn't here to give that information. But some of the things we've been doing going forward, you might have heard them if you're listening to Morning Edition and All Things Considered, local or regional music beds. I had the idea of reaching out to local musicians, regional musicians, and say, hey, would you like to provide us some music that we can use, and and be able to say, hey, that was so-and-so from Saranac Lake or from Ottawa or wherever. And it has done, this was just in July, and so far we've had 30 musicians or bands, solos or bands, write to us and say, you're welcome to use our music. We'd love it. Doyle Dean's been taking the lead on that and making sure it fits into what we need and creating the beds for the operators to use. And so we thought it was a way that we could reach out and support a community that is really decimated by COVID. You know, between the venues and the musicians themselves, nobody's playing anywhere. They're trying to do, Zoom concerts. It's not the same. And so we thought, this doesn't cost us anything. It's a great way to support our regional musicians. And so far, everyone seems to be loving it. And like I say here, we're hoping to actually create, as we get more of them, interviews. Doyle is going to try to do videos. We're going to try to create a page on the website that says, here are some folks that have supported us. Go support them by buying their music or hearing a concert or whatever. NPR events, the Corva Coleman one, I'll let Jess talk about, but the pre-election event with Tamara Keith is already being advertised, and we expect that that's going to be a really great thing. And Mitch, it was the Adirondack Foundation or the Center for Writing that we're
Adirondack Foundation. We're grateful
right.
To Callie and everybody at the Adirondack Foundation
Right.
for being our sponsors on that event.
Terrific stuff. The other thing is I've been reaching out to the hosts of other shows like It's Been a Minute and World Cafe. And I've already done interviews with those hosts and they're available, but we've talked also about when it's safe to travel again, to have them come up here and do a show from North Country, somewhere in the North Country Public Radio listening region. And they are, Sam Sanders and Raina Douris are both very keen to do something like that. Jen White was also interested to bring 1A up here when we can do that sort of thing. So those things are unfortunately on hold right now, but they're in the works so that when we can finally do this, we can bring some of the NPR world here and introduce our audience to those folks as well. And then, of course, our own stars, we continue to brainstorm safe ways to introduce our people, particularly our new news team of folks, to our audience. And, I'm sure we'll be having more Zoom and other types of things to come, but that's kind of where we are with all of that. I also wanted to mention during the 3 months, the hard pandemic 3 months, Ethan Shanty was the point person on a coronavirus resource page that he and I sat down at the I think it was my second day here, and I said, Ethan, can you do this? Because I think people are going to need to know where to go to find out where they can get food and where they can get relief on this and where they can get medical care and what to do, because nobody knows anything. And so a big shout out to Ethan for creating that and maintaining that. And the other programming thing that I think was crucial in serving our audience is that we carried Governor Cuomo's daily briefing until he stopped doing them daily. And so that took a lot of coordination with our on-air staff and people being ready and then having a debrief with, and so that was another huge, effort that I think was really, really, really important during this time. So thanks both to the programming and the news teams for making that happen.
Well, thanks so much to you, Bonnie, for jumping in with both feet and really being a pivotal person during this time that none of us could have easily predicted a year ago. I want to just give Jess a couple of seconds here to add to the outreach, because she was really a point person for outreach before Bonnie got here and continues to do outreach work, planning the Tamara Keith event, for example. Jess, do you want to say anything about the Howl or any of the other events that took place under your watch?
Sure. So the Howl Grand Slam, as everybody knows probably, we rotate between the Adirondack Center for Writing hosting 1 year, and then we host the next year. So in 2019, it was our turn to host, and Mitch just came on board, and I basically said, just let me do what I want to do. and it paid off. For anybody who went, it was really awesome. It was the highest attended. It's the most money we've ever made at a Howl. Everything really went off without a hitch, and I'm really proud of everybody who helped make it a reality. So we can't do any actual Howls right now. Mitch and I talked last week about maybe trying something. But then after the success we had with Melissa Block on campus, SUNY Potsdam reached out to me and said, hey, we want to have Corva Coleman come. We know we don't employ you, but what are we supposed to do? So I took over that process as well. We had a really nice event with her. She loved being here. She got to milk a cow. That was exciting for her. So
and she
really
endowed
fun.
an internship.
Yeah, so we actually have a couple people who have contributed. So we actually have 3 years worth of one intern from SUNY Potsdam for the next 3 years. So that's really exciting.
Great.
Yeah. Yep. And that's pretty much it. The Tamara Keith event, again, all virtual. She's super excited. She said to the NPR talent people that NCPR is good people. So she was completely on board with us.
Well, yeah, we're thrilled to have her. And if you haven't reserved a spot yet, spaces are limited, but it is free. And if you just go to our website, ncpr.org, there's a very obvious place to click on. And I clicked on it just to test it out today. And for some reason, it autofills with my 12-year-old son's name. I have no idea why.
Questions in advance, please shoot them to me so Mitch and I can prepare adequately. We'd love to have as many questions as possible.
And as far as outreach goes, last but not least, I do want to make a quick mention of North Country at Work. Amy Feiereisel is the coordinator for North Country at Work. She's not with us today. That project is evolving into its next phase with a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting through an initiative called Coming Home. And it will focus on the evolution of very small communities of it's either 1,000 or fewer or 500 or fewer in the North Country and 500. And how the COVID-19 pandemic is impacting their economies and reflective of their histories and how they've reinvented themselves in the past. So she continues to do great work. She's also done a lot of reporting for the NPR News team during the pandemic as well. So we're really grateful to have her on board. And I believe that is it for our presentation. Went a little longer than I was expecting. I appreciate everybody's attention. And I guess I will turn things back over to Linda to work our way through the rest of the agenda. Unless there are more questions, I'm sorry.
Thank you. That was really, really informative. I have lots of notes, so I can call you all and make life miserable. I think that concludes everything that is on the agenda for station activities and returns us to the selection and election of our new board officers. And I am really pleased to share with you, I'm sad to be leaving, but I'm pleased to share with you that we have a candidate for the chairmanship and for the vice chair position. And I think you'll be very pleased with that. I know that the new team will be active and better at organizing all of you than I have been, but we've accomplished a great deal over the last couple of years, and I really have appreciated all of your support in getting done what we have. We have a great new station manager, new staff, and have been through this rather difficult time, to say the least, and come out with flying colors. So thanks to everyone for that. And with that, I would like to present to you for your, can we do this as one, or do I have to do each person separately?
I believe
we'll make it a slate.
Yes, I think we can do that.
Okay. Pleased to present to you the slate of Bob Keller as our new chairperson and Julia Toshi as our new vice chair. We're really thrilled to have that position being filled, and we will hope to add to that a secretary in the near future. And
I'll jump in, by the way. I think Ann Adams has agreed if we can get through.
Okay.
She's had some technical issues with Zoom in the past, but she says if we can, I could let her speak for herself, but if we can make sure that our Zoom situation with her is confirmed, then she is happy to serve as board secretary.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's elect her in that case. We can, if she has to resign, we'll have to find someone. May I have a motion to approve that slate?
So moved.
And a second?
Mark.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Seems like we have a new set of officers, and I thank you enormously for your support of that. And at this time, I will turn over the gavel with my absolute appreciation for everything that the station does and that all of you do for the station. I will continue to be available to answer questions, and I am a participant in the strategic planning committee that Bob and Mitch will talk to you about. So I'll keep my hand in a little bit, and thank you for your support again.
Linda,
Bob?
thank you for your support.
Oh.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to, and I apologize if I'm out of order, Mr. Chairman, but I wanted to take just a second to express my sincere appreciation to Linda for her good counsel, for her friendship with the station, and for really being such a wonderful person to work with as I've learned to be the station manager over the past year. You know, her support of all kinds to the station means the world, and I am truly looking forward to a time when we can all be together and suitably honor Linda's service to the station. But in the interim, I hope you'll take my truly heartfelt appreciation for everything you've meant to NCPR, to me personally, over the last year. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
And I'm going to chime in too, Mitch, and just say on behalf of St. Lawrence, Linda, President Fox, myself, and everyone, you have done a tremendous job. You led us through this transition the last 2 years, and we will be grateful to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Linda. We're so grateful from the board. I just want you to know that the entire board thanks you for your extraordinary leadership and the success that we've experienced in this relationship. Thank you so much.
I'm growing wings. Bob, it's your show.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Big shoes to fill. But hopefully.
I have tiny feet.
The next thing on the agenda here was a discussion about, well, it says adding a committee structure to the executive council. And Mitch and Linda and I have spoken about trying to make the participation on the executive council, to quote Mitch, to make participation on the executive council a more useful experience for everyone. And that means to sort of harness the talent of the folks we have on this council, and to better be able to utilize that talent. And towards that end, we're talking about setting up a committee structure, which would include obviously the executive committee, but we would also be setting up a few other committees. We haven't decided on exactly what they would be named, but they would probably address things like development and fundraising. Another one might address programming issues. It would really be what Mitch how Mitch feels we can best help him and the staff. So part of that planning will actually, we're going to be talking about it in the strategic planning process. It'll be part of one of our strategic plan goals is that we hopefully will accomplish quickly is to have this new committee structure. And it will involve or allow those members of the council who want to become more involved to get involved in a committee. There probably would be a few little extra meetings, maybe by Zoom. We haven't figured all that out, but it would allow us to focus, as I said, some efforts by committee members to help Mitch to be a sounding board. I think that's, and the one other thing we're going to do, I felt strongly about, and I think we all agree, is that we just can't let Linda, evaporate into the atmosphere. So one of the things we're going to do with the executive committee is have an ex officio position of immediate past chair, so that Linda will be able to stay involved with us to help me personally, as chair, to help me from running astray, and also to help Mitch and our executive committee. So she'll still be involved. And again, the details of this will be forthcoming in future meetings. And I will actually turn this over to Mitch so we can get his take on this and his objectives and goals for this idea.
Yeah, I think thanks, Bob. I think, and mine are reflective of what you've just said. I think the idea is, in the past, this committee has, while it's been important, there has not been a lot of connective tissue in between meetings. And I think to the degree, we don't want to all have these kind of large, unwieldy, sometimes meetings on a more frequent basis. But if we can have smaller committee meetings in which people who are really interested in a particular aspect of the station's governance or operations or in just the station's future might be able to get together on a more regular basis and have conversations in between each of the meetings and then report back on them. I think it would make as I say, make serving on the committee a more useful experience for everyone. And to the degree that we're able to take advantage of Linda's institutional memory on this executive council, I would very much like to include her. And, if there are others who are timing off the board, Rod, I know this is your last meeting as a board member. You would certainly be welcome to be an ex officio member of one of these committees as well. We would love to have you. And if there are other members of the community who would like to be a part of what the station does without necessarily having a vote on the executive council, we'd certainly consider that as well. We need all the good people that we can get.
Good. Yeah, so as I said, we'll be formalizing some of the structure for all of this, and we'll be getting back to you. But I think it will be great, and I'm sure. I know myself a few times after a meeting, I've said, well, I really have some ideas about this or that, but I don't necessarily want to bother anyone. So, but if we had a committee, and as I said, different folks will have different interests, might be more interested in one thing or another. So this will be an opportunity for you. The next thing on the agenda is recognition of departing board members, and I will turn this back over to Linda and Mitch, who know them all better than I do. So.
Well, and I've said a lot about my appreciation for Linda's service. I also want to express that same appreciation to Rod Giltz, who has been a long friend of North Country Public Radio in the Champlain Valley, and I hope will continue to be an avid listener, even though his time on the board is up. We've spoken a couple of times in my office, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we're both able to be in the station at the same time. You're always welcome to come through the doors of North Country Public Radio, and and I'm truly grateful to your friendship with the station over the years. I don't know if Linda, you had anything else to add.
Well, as one of my predecessors, you were a wonderful role model, Rod, and I enjoyed every minute that we've had to spend together over this many, many years now. So thank you for your commitments and your love of the station and everything St. Lawrence.
And I'll also recognize Kathy Perksek, who is not at this meeting today. I'm not sure if it is her birthday she is celebrating on a kayak or someone else's birthday. I'm hoping that she is enjoying herself as we have this conversation. And I'll say I'm grateful for her service to the board as well.
Okay, great, thanks. Next thing on the agenda was an update on the strategic planning process. And although I am on that committee with Linda and Mitch, I will again turn this back over, I guess, to Mitch and Linda also, if you have any comments. But Mitch.
Yeah, just a really brief update. The committee had a chance to meet and get a good financial look at the station's operations from Eric Shinnick at St. Lawrence University. Radio Bob was present as well to answer some other questions. And I hope the strategic planning committee has a better sense for the financial picture of the station moving forward. The next step in the process will take place next month, and it is a SWOT analysis, the acronym standing for, oh, Jeff, you'll have to, I'm blanking on the S.
Oh,
Strengths.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We have a lot of strengths. There's so many that it overwhelmed my ability to remember the word strengths, but that will take place. That's scheduled for September. Obviously, doing a strategic plan at a time like this is a challenging exercise, and it requires us to both take a look at what's immediately in front of us, but also keep our eyes on what we're likely to see, 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years down the road, and think big and think small at the same time.
Linda, did you have anything to add on the strategic planning process so far?
No, other than the fact that the 2 meetings have been really instructional and helpful, and I think that we will make some good progress at the next one, and I can't remember the date of it, but that's okay. I'm sure I have it written down.
And I would look it up, but because we're recording this meeting, my computer doesn't let me open any other windows.
Well, I would just then ask a question, Mitch. I'm looking at my calendar, and I have next Monday, the 24th at 10:30. Does that sound right? Not September.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is it next Monday?
Yep.
I have that too, Bob.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that I put it on the wrong month in my calendar.
Well, yeah, I think you even sent an email out.
I may well have, and then I apologize if I have inadvertently placed it in the wrong position on my calendar. Because indeed, I think it does show up on
the 24th.
Let me take a look here again. Huh. All right, I apologize. We will be back in touch to plan that meeting out.
Okay, good. So we still want to hold next Tuesday or next Monday, right?
Next Monday, correct, yeah.
Monday.
Okay. Yep. Okay, good, great, thanks. Now, let's see. I would just say, I do think the strategic planning process is going well, and for me, it was especially helpful to opportunity to learn a lot about the station and the financials and really get a better handle of how this whole business operates. And it's been interesting to see the strategic plans from other NPR stations that we've been affiliates that we've been looking at, and it's been very informative. But anyway, there will be future updates on that as we go along. Next, we have public comments and questions. Mitch?
We had several comments that were submitted to us virtually ahead of time. And I can either read them into the record or I can pass them along to our recording secretary for this meeting. I think, Julia, you're taking notes for this. I can send them along. One is from Lou Kurth, who is calling for us to create a local forum where North Country people can go to share views and discuss matters of concern to the people in our area. And the other, I'm going to have to bring up on my email. I was not aware that I couldn't toggle between windows while I was doing this, so bear with me for just a moment.
Well, I don't know that they need to be read into the record, but as long as they're in the minutes, and we would all be able to see what those full comments are. So
absolutely. The other was from a gentleman in Carthage, and I'll just briefly share it, who was concerned, has ongoing concerns about sponsors of NPR programs involving alcohol and the mixed message that addiction reporting and accepting sponsorships from wine and other alcohol companies, in his opinion, the mixed message that it sends. So I will pass along both of those comments to Julia, and we can insert them in the record.
Right. And I just want to comment quickly. I think these, this, as we evolve the executive council, this is one thing that maybe one of those committees will look at these and give a preliminary recommendation to the full council, so that the full council doesn't have to go back and forth hashing out a recommendation or some sort of opinion to give back to Mitch. So again, to allow us to be more useful, and also to allow Mitch to say, hey, look, the executive council has reviewed this, here's what their opinion is. So anyway, was there anything else now before we go into executive session?
I just wanted, I regret that I left out a facilities report in our updates, and just to, it's included in the annual report, the PDF that I sent out, so you should have that in front of you. But let me just briefly bring people up to date. There was a fairly substantial amount of space down the hall from NCPR that was granted to us by Canton Potsdam Hospital, and renovations, even as the pandemic has been ongoing, renovations have been ongoing, and one of the big benefits to that is that we will soon have in place another auxiliary studio that can be used for on-air purposes, both in case of some kind of situation where we might not have access to our typical on-air studio, whether that's a medical contamination or an electrical issue. We would have another place that we could actually originate programming. We also will have a lounge space and 2 private bathrooms. Currently, we share bathrooms with medical offices that are on the 2nd floor of the E.J. Noble Professional Building, which during a pandemic is concerning to some people. And so I'm pleased that we're going to be able to give access to our staff members to some bathroom facilities that are the radio stations alone. We'll also have music storage space. We'll have additional storage space for our fulfillment of donation premiums. And Lizette, anything else that you wanted to say about that space briefly?
Sure, a conference room / event room if we're ever able to get together again.
And I also wanted to express the station's appreciation to St. Lawrence University. One of the spaces that we've had is an auxiliary studio that, in fact, you're not supposed to know this, but Radio Bob is broadcasting from later this afternoon, is the space at KSLU, which is typically the student radio station on campus, which we've had access to for the last couple of months. That is Radio Bob's undisclosed location, which has now been disclosed. You're sworn to secrecy, but we are truly grateful, and we have that space until students need it back, and we've not heard that that's going to be the case yet. So we'll see whether we bring on another studio somewhere on campus yet this fall. So that was the only other additional item I wanted to mention, and I apologize for not including the facilities report in the earlier part of the meeting.
Question. I know we're kind of short on time, but I'm wondering if Mitch or maybe Bonnie could fill us in briefly on the conversations that have been happening at the station about how to increase diversity in our listenership, diversity in programming. Yeah, in addition to the great kind of Black Lives Matters and racial justice stuff coverage that's been happening as news, how to link that more deeply into the station.
Bonnie, I don't know. Do you want to? I think
Sure,
I think a couple of the programs we added, I think, speak to exactly
more specifically
that
for that. 1A was one of those programs. It's Been a Minute with Sam Sanders is another. Trying to just normalize diverse voices. I think one of the things that we all struggle with is that we all kind of have our own assumptions of what normal is, and everything outside of that sounds different and is other. And I never want to put voices that aren't basically white middle class voices as somehow being other. I want them to be part of the conversation. And so adding shows that are simply hosted by people of color, hosted by, gender nonconforming, whatever it happens to be, that's how I want to approach it. And, from a programming perspective, I want to just put those things in there and say, here it is, and, I had if you haven't heard the conversation with Sam Sanders, who's the host of It's Been a Minute, it is on our website, and I really recommend listening to him because he really talks about what it's like to report while Black and what it's like to host while Black and what news people have to do and how they can react to the news and still be who they are, because they can't, this idea of this, neutrality that we're supposed to have really is disingenuous. We all have a point of view. And so, those are ways from a national perspective that we're trying to do it. From the hiring perspective, Mitch, I don't know that we can consciously go look for people. I think that's an ethical minefield too. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Certainly, in our recruitment, as we're able, we talk about in the job description the need to find people with understanding and experience in reporting on a diverse set of issues. And while, we would never be in a position where we say we need to hire a person of color or a woman or a man or a Native American or whatever, certainly it's our aim to have a staff that is, reflective of the kinds of issues that we are, our mission is to cover here. And we've been, I'll speak candidly here, it's a challenge to often, and this is something that comes up, I know, in a lot of organizations, it's a challenge to find people who, people of color who want to come and live in a place that does not have many people of color. And, we do our best to try to sell people on the possibilities that exist here and the great working environment that exists already at NCPR. And, it's a struggle, but it's a struggle that we'll continue to try to overcome. And certainly if people have suggestions and ways of trying to, both attract a more diverse workforce, but also if there's programming or, other aspects to what we do on the air that you think we ought to be looking at, I think it's a perfectly appropriate topic for the Executive Council to make suggestions and advise.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
I'll just mention quickly the largest employer, actually it's the largest single site employer in New York State, but the largest employer in upstate New York and the most diverse employer is the United States Army at Fort Drum. And that community is large, and so we can look to ways maybe to connect more with them. Certainly something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Robert, I want to jump in very quickly on that. That's one of the things I talked about when I came here, because I'm a veteran, and having that that entire staff there. Plus, we have a really robust VA system in New York as well, and so there's a whole segment of the population there that we haven't touched yet, and so that is on my list. Good. Of like how can we reach them in a way that might also encourage them to listen to other things that we're already offering. Right. So it is on my list. And if you have ideas, please forward them to me.
I would like to continue that with you, Bonnie, to talk about that more too, as Fort Drum is in our backyard here.
Absolutely.
And I'll just say that maybe the thing there that you mentioned is being veterans, because there are a lot of veterans in upstate New York. I'm one also. And that's certainly an issue where maybe there's an opportunity to do more reporting on veterans issues. And that would certainly tie in with Fort Drum. So it sounds great. Thanks.
Yep.
And Mitch, and maybe it's Bob now, I'd also like to think about addressing the same issue in terms of this Executive Council. So I know it's supposed to reflect the community, but maybe that's not necessarily a good thing in this case. So any way I can help, but I think that should be a priority as we're looking at new members.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we go to executive session? I'm not sure what the protocol is here. How we go to executive session?
I think you just have to announce we're going into to closed session or executive session, and I think everyone that is on the call right now is entitled to be here. I'm still not 100% sure who the person on the phone is. I thought that might have been Rod's original connection, and then he joined us by iPad, and it might just still be hot. Do we still have somebody on the phone with us? I've tried unmuting you, but
looks like a 315 area code.
Yeah, I guess. And
Mitch, you can bump that person off too.
Yeah. Unless I hear back from you, 315, I'm going to remove you for now as we go into closed session.
Okay, so we're back in general session. There's no further business. So shall we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
It's my last opportunity.
Okay, Linda, a second.
Second.
Okay, thanks.
And before we wrap, let me just make sure I'm clear on this. Should the ballot actually come from you, Bob, or is it appropriate to come from me?
Probably from the chair, I guess,
okay.
Technically.
So I'll put the ballot together and get it to you.
Okay, yeah. I guess that's, I don't know that it makes that much difference, but probably for protocol reasons, maybe that's the way it should be, but good. Well, thank you all very much. I look forward to some trepidation trying to fill Linda's shoes, but I'm glad to know she'll still be here to guide us and provide advice. So thanks so much. So
Bob, we're thrilled to have you as chair.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for stepping up, and you too, Julia.
Sure. Thank you so much, Linda, for everything.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Linda.
you all.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
rest of
Thank you.
summer, everyone.
Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Right.
Enjoy the kayak, Mitch.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.